I should have never gone out that night. Even now, as I replay every detail in my mind, I can't understand what pushed me to step outside. The city was already dead in so many ways. Empty streets, burned out cars, shattered windows that stared back at me like hollow eyes. But there was something else, something worse. The silence. You don't realize how heavy silence can be until it feels like it's pressing against your chest. No cars, no dogs barking, no distant chatter from late-night drunks. Just nothing. The kind of nothing that makes you wonder if the world has already ended and you didn't get the memo. I kept walking, convincing myself I just needed air, that I was imagining the smell, the faint metallic stench that seeped through every corner of the city. It reminded me of iron, of rust, of blood. At first I thought the shapes in the distance were just shadows cast by the dying streetlights. Tall, lean silhouettes that seemed too still, too rigid. But when I stopped, I noticed something that froze me in place. Their eyes, glowing, two pale embers in the dark, fixed directly on me. I told myself they were tricks of the light, reflections on broken glass, anything but what they really were. I forced myself to keep walking, pretending I wasn't being watched. My footsteps echoed unnaturally loud against the cracked asphalt, and with every step I could hear another sound following mine, a faint scrape, like bare feet dragging across the ground. I turned a corner, and that's when I saw the first one clearly. Its body was stretched unnaturally thin, its skin like burnt paper clinging to sharp bones. Its mouth hung open, exposing jagged teeth that looked too long, too irregular to be human. And those eyes, empty, glowing pits that seemed to pierce through me. I froze. I wanted to scream, but the sound caught in my throat. Instead, I backed away slowly, praying it wouldn't move. But it did. One step, then another. And with each movement, I heard more behind it, more footsteps, more glowing eyes flickering in the smoke-filled streets. The air grew heavier, thicker, almost suffocating. I swear I could hear them breathing, not like humans do, but ragged, animalistic gasps, as if their lungs were fighting against something inside them. The smell of rot hit me, stronger than ever, making me gag. My instincts told me to run, but my legs didn't obey. I was paralyzed, standing there as the city I thought I knew dissolved into something nightmarish. The buildings looked darker, the fires seemed colder, and the figures, no, the mutants, were closing in. One of them tilted its head, studying me, and for a moment in that sickening silence, I felt like prey. I don't know why I whispered it, maybe to convince myself it wasn't real, maybe because the words slipped out before I could stop them. They're not human. And that was the exact moment I realized the city wasn't mine anymore. I should have run the second I saw them, but I didn't. My body betrayed me, holding me in place like I was shackled to the ground. It wasn't until one of them let out a sound, a low, guttural rasp that vibrated in my bones, that I snapped back into myself. I turned and bolted. My lungs burned instantly, each breath slicing like glass in my throat, but I didn't dare stop. I could hear them behind me, the slap of their bare feet on the pavement, the dry scrape of claws dragging against brick as they gave chase. They didn't sound clumsy or slow. They sounded hungry. The city was a maze of ruins, and every street I ran down looked the same. Hollow buildings, broken lights, shadows that twisted into monstrous shapes. I tried to remember the way back to my apartment, to the one place that still felt safe, but panic blurred everything. The world had become nothing but smoke, darkness, and glowing eyes at my back. At some point, I stumbled into an alley. The stench here was worse, unbearable, like rotting meat left to fester in the heat. My hand brushed against something wet on the wall, and when I looked down, I realized it was blood. Not fresh, but thick and blackened, smeared across the bricks as though something had been dragged. My stomach lurched, bile rising in my throat, but I kept moving. That's when I heard it. Not footsteps, not breathing. Something else, a voice. It was faint at first, like a whisper caught in the wind. My name. I froze. It couldn't be real. Nobody should have known I was there. Nobody should have been alive out in the streets. And yet, through the suffocating dark, I heard it again. Clearer this time, closer. My name, spoken in a voice I knew. It was my mother's. I knew it was impossible. She had died months before the city collapsed, but the sound of her voice was so exact, so painfully familiar, that for a split second I wanted to believe. My eyes darted between the shadows, searching desperately, and then I saw her. or at least something wearing her face. Her body was thin, gaunt, her skin stretched tight over jagged bones. Her eyes glowed like theirs, but dimmer, almost human. She opened her mouth, and instead of words, a black liquid spilled down her chin, dripping onto the concrete. The thing tilted its head, smiling with teeth that weren't hers. I stumbled backward, my chest tightening as tears stung my eyes. "You're not her," I whispered, shaking my head. "You're not." A sudden screech tore through the alley, sharp and metallic, like metal grinding against stone. My ears rang, my vision blurred, and when I looked again, she was gone. Only the mutants remained, their eyes burning brighter, their bodies edging closer as though my fear had drawn them in. The worst part? They didn't rush me. They didn't tear me apart, not yet. They just circled, watching, studying, waiting, like they wanted me to suffer, to break down completely before they finally devoured me. That's when I understood. This wasn't just about survival. They weren't simply hunting. They were playing with me. I don't remember how long I stood there, surrounded by their burning eyes. Seconds felt like hours. My heart hammered so hard I could hear the blood rushing in my ears, louder than their breathing, louder than the distant fires eating away at the city. Then, without warning, the largest of them moved. It stepped forward, closer than the others, and I saw its skin in full. It wasn't just burned or diseased. It looked as if something inside it had been clawing its way out, tearing through veins and bone. Its chest heaved, but no air seemed to fill it. It leaned closer, inches from me, and I smelled it. The unbearable stench of death mixed with sulfur, like a furnace that had been burning bodies for days. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. My body had gone cold, numb, like I wasn't even inside it anymore. That's when I did the only thing I could think of. I ran again. I shoved past the nearest mutant, my shoulder brushing against its skin. It felt wrong, rubbery and brittle at the same time, like dried flesh stretched too thin. It hissed, its head snapping toward me, but I didn't look back. I couldn't. The streets twisted around me like a nightmare, buildings bending in the smoke, signs flickering in colors that made no sense. I knew I was losing it. That fear was blinding me, but the sound of their pursuit was real. They were faster now, no longer dragging their feet, but sprinting, their limbs jerking in unnatural bursts of speed. I turned into another street, desperate for somewhere to hide. That's when I saw it, the subway entrance. A black hole in the ground, stairs leading down into the belly of the city. My chest tightened. Going underground was suicide, but staying above meant certain death. I chose the dark. The smell hit me immediately, thicker than the air above, a suffocating mixture of mold, rust, and something rancid. My footsteps echoed down the tunnel, bouncing back at me like mocking laughter. The faint glow of emergency lights flickered overhead, painting the walls in a sickly red. For a moment, I thought I'd lost them. The silence returned, pressing down on me, heavier than before. I leaned against the cold concrete, trying to steady my breath, trying to convince myself I had escaped. But then I heard it. Not footsteps, not whispers, a sound worse than both. Clicking, slow, deliberate, echoing through the tunnel, like claws tapping against stone. The mutants weren't behind me anymore. They were ahead. Dozens of glowing eyes emerged from the dark, filling the tunnel, reflecting off the damp walls. Their bodies shifted in the flickering red light, hunched, waiting. I realized with a sinking horror that I hadn't escaped them at all. I had gone exactly where they wanted me to go. The sound grew louder as they advanced, the clicking echoing all around, above, below. I was trapped, and in that moment, a realization colder than death itself crept into my mind. This city, it wasn't dying, it wasn't abandoned, it belonged to them. I felt the heat of their breath closing in, the glow of their eyes burning into me. My legs gave out, and the last thing I saw before the lights flickered out completely was a wall of twisted faces, grinning as they reached for me. I should have never gone outside, but now it doesn't matter, because I'm never leaving this city.